Okay, we are going to get started with our November Club Q. This one is called Something to Be Thankful For. The quote on it is, "There's always, always, always something to be thankful for." These are gorgeous fall pages that can accommodate any photos though. So if the quote isn't working for you, you just add something else or maybe a journaling piece in that space. We try really hard to make it so that you can use most of the kits for any sort of pictures. But let's go ahead and get started. There is suggestions of Powder Puff chalking inks, and we had suggested Amaretto, Barnboard, and Sugar Plum, but there are lots of colors that can work. I have some greens over here. I have Fields of Green. I have Mango Mai Tai for a little orange. You could even do a little yellow or teal in there. Whatever it works for you, and maybe you want to use something that matches your exact pictures that you're putting in there. The Sugar Plum is almost exactly the same color as the ribbon we're going to be using, so if you want to bring that out a little more, you could use that. There's lots of reds that would work with this. Manzanita is a brownish red. There's Barnboard. Oh, I already said Barnboard. Bloody Mary would be really nice with this. So anyway, you just grab from your stash of Powder Puff chalking inks what works for you. One thing that I want to mention before we start cutting things up, I did punch out all my die cuts. Your vellum piece here, we are only cutting off the ends. Okay, so you don't want to necessarily, this is going to go on like this, and this gets wrapped around and this gets wrapped around. So we are only cutting off the ends. If you already have cut off the sides, that's fine, because it does give you a little extra space there to be able to fold it. It just makes it easier to fold if you have more space on the sides there. So totally up to you. But I'm just cutting just this off on the sides. And really, I think that's the only thing that I need to let you know from the beginning. One thing that I would say is this die cut here is a little bit intricate and delicate. So when you are punching that out, just be careful. When we use glue for this one, we typically use the Barely Art precision glue. It's on our website, but this is the types of things that we use that on because it's so small. We are going to get started we're going to do the cutting first. So if you want to get out your trimmer and your cutting diagram that looks like this, it has our Facebook advertising stuff on one side, but on the other side it has the cutting diagrams, and I'm just going to set this here to the side so I can see what I am doing. The first thing I'm actually going to cut is the tab off of the background pages. So go ahead and put those in at 12 inches and trim off the tab. And those will be our background pages when we get going here. And then I'm going to do the white diagram first. And what I'm going to do is actually this piece right here. I'm going to cut off the 3 3/4 inch piece here. So put this into 3 3/4 and trim. And then you have a big piece to work with later here. And we are going to turn this and turn it into 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay? And you need 3 of those. So you'll have 3 squares that are 3 3/4. With the big piece that's left over, we're going to do the 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. So go ahead and turn it. We're going to cut that at 5 1/4. And then we'll turn that to 7 1/4. Oops. Okay, 7 1/4. So you have 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And this last chunk, you will have some left over, but this last chunk is 5 by 5 1/2. Excuse me. So I'm going to put this in at 5. I'm going to turn it and do 5 1/2. You have a couple little pieces. These are just scraps that you can get rid of. I know a lot of times we say save the scraps until you're done, but those we won't be using. So you have a 5 by 5 1/2. And a little piece left over. Now we'll do the tan, the brown floral. And what I'm going to do first on that one is I am going to cut, let's see, the 7 inches. I'm going to cut the 7 inches off here, okay? And it doesn't matter what direction your paper goes because there's no rhyme or reason to the flowers. So we're going to put it in at 7 inches. And then we'll turn and do 5. I'll do that twice. So you have a 5 by 7 and another 5 by 7. This is leftover. You can get rid of that or use it for tags or something. Okay, so you have 2 5 by 7s. The piece that's left, we're going to do a 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut this tab off so that's not confusing. Get rid of the tab. If there's ever tabs on the papers, you can always cut those off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it this way and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/4. Okay, so 5 1/4. And if you need to pause and get this done and then go again, that's the beauty of having a video. Then we'll turn it and do 4 3/4. So you have 5 1/4, you turn it 4 3/4. This last big chunk that we have here of paper, we're going to do 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. So just put it in at 3 1/2 and 3 1/2 again. And these little pieces are all left over. This makes another little photo backer or a nice tag or something. Actually, while I have this out, this is how you can easily turn it into a tag. I don't know if you know this trick, but I'm going to show you just in case. This is just a scrap piece of paper, doesn't have to go on this layout, but what I do to make a perfect tag is I match the corners together. You don't want to crease it, but you just match the corners together and then trim up. And then it makes it even on both sides, and that makes like a perfect little tag to use for something else. Okay, so you have a 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And that's all the cutting that you have, other than we are going to trim off, and actually I'm going to do this on my trimmer so it's nice and straight. Right where the color stops on here, we're going to trim off that vellum, turn it this way, and trim there. We leave the rest because we're just going to fold it around to the back. Okay. Your ribbon gets cut into two 2-inch pieces. So I would just put it in here. This just makes a little 2-inch, and 2-inch. And then the rest we're going to use just like this, wrap it around a photo mat and tie a knot. And with these, I make a little, I call them a little dove's tail. So I'll fold the corners together, and then I cut back towards the center creased part, and that makes a little, if you can see it, a little V. So each of those 2-inch pieces, we're going to fold our corners together, and then you cut back towards the center where it's folded. Okay? All right, I think we have all the cutting done. I'm going to get this out of the way, and we'll get started on the layout. The two background papers are the floral green, and if you like this side better, you can use whichever side you want. I'm going to get this set up so hopefully you can see both, and we can work on both pages as we go. Okay, so on page 1, we're going to start by layering your photo mats. You have 2 5x7s that you cut out of the tan floral paper, and then you had two pre-cut white pieces. There's one that you had cut, which is the same size, the one that you cut out of your diagram. So just grab 2 of those larger pieces. And these get layered onto your page. There's about 3/4 of an inch, a little over 1/2 an inch from the top of each. 3/4 maybe. I work in about, so I do whatever looks good. If you want to measure exactly, it's 3/4 of an inch from the top, 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Your mats go right on top of that. And if you want to chalk them up with a color, I'm going to add a little bit of orange to brighten this up just a little bit. But any of the browns or the Bloody Mary or Barn Board, the reds, Manzanita, those would look really nice as well. I just kind of do a little bit in the corners to add a little color. You could also use a green. I'm just going to show you some different colors here and make it a little darker. You could use any of the browns to make it look a little more antique. Totally up to you. Before you glue down your white photo mats, though, you want to be able to put in these little end pieces, these little decorative end pieces. And what I did was I just put a little glue on the ends of these. You don't have to have glue all the way across the back. And once I did, I just stuck them right underneath your photo there. Okay. I never use glue all the way across anything because I like to save my glue. You definitely don't have to on this one. I just put a little on the ends and then tuck it underneath here. On page 2, we'll get the, let's see here, we'll get the photo mat set up on there. So across the top, we have 3.5 by 3.5. And if you want to chalk up the white, that'll really stand out. A lot of times I leave the white and then I chalk up the one that goes on top of it. But you do you, whatever works for you in your pictures. I know a lot of times I chalk with whatever color picture I put into my layouts. So if I'm using pictures that have lots of greens in it, I might add some green. If I have pictures with lots of red in it, I might use a little more red. So totally up to you. Okay, and your white, your last big white piece, and I wouldn't glue this down yet because we are going to put the ribbon around it. This can be glued to the white, but don't glue the white down yet. I'm just layering these up. There's 2 pieces left like this. They go together here. And then there's space for your quote right there. Now your quote, we are going to take your white piece, your little plaque piece. Looks like a little white plaque. This goes right over top, and you want to center it so you have about the same amount of tan showing here as you do here. Okay, and straight. And then what you do is flip it over and you fold the sides right up against your white plaque piece. Okay, and then this is where your glue goes. So you put a line of adhesive here and a line of adhesive here, and then it will never show through your vellum on the other side. You fold it around like this. Once you flip it back over, all the glue is on the back and you won't see that part. Okay, I'm just going to set this off to the side because we're going to do the ribbon on this one. And for the ribbon, you can either just tie a knot in the middle like this and wrap the edges around your photo mat, and then you have a knot in the middle, or you can slide this underneath here and tie a knot in the middle so that you have ends showing. That is up to you. And it's a little bit hard to get tight, but just go ahead and pull it tight to where the paper's almost bending. And you tie a knot in the middle. Once you get your knot tied, you can kind of adjust how you want it. Okay? Once you have these photos on, then you can go ahead and adhere this down. You have 2 shiny embellishments that'll go at the ends here. When you get to these little frames, you'll want to trace on your photo the outside of this so that you can cut the photo out so it fits right underneath there. So go ahead and lay this on your photo, trace the outside of this, cut it out, and then it goes, whoop, and it goes right onto here. Or if you want to, you can trace the inside, but you'll want to cut just on the outside of your tracing so that you can still glue this part to your photo. Okay, so if you trace to do just the inside, and these are going to show brown, those little spots there, if you trace the inside, you can do you want to cut just outside of where you traced on your photo, and you can put it behind there just in the middle part. Same for these guys. I find it easiest to trace around the outside and then just cut it down a little bit more. Photos go behind here. And if you don't like the frames on there, you could just use these as photo backers too. So you don't actually have to add the frames if you don't want. Okay, so the only thing left here is the chipboard and your flowers. Now the chipboard, I actually colored to match the page. This is totally up to you. If you want to though, I just laid this down on a scrap piece of paper. I took my chalking ink. This one's really kind of messed up. I've had it for a couple years now. And you just pat some color onto your words. If you already have them punched out, you can still do the same thing. I just find sometimes it's easier to do while it's still in there just because these are pretty delicate. But if you want to add some color, you can just pat some color onto here. I think I might do a little bit of orange, then I'm going to take it to the green and do just a little bit of green. And add some color that way too. And then punch out your words. These are super delicate, so just be very careful as you punch them out. And if they tear apart, no problem. Just glue them close to each other and nobody will know the difference. And this is where the Barely Art Precision Glue comes in handy because you can put a few dots here. You don't need to cover the whole thing, but you can do a few dots. Glue it to your quote. And you're set. I don't have my glue here this time. It's all at my office. But I think you can get the gist of it. Okay, on this side, all you do on this side is match up your flowers behind where they go on your page. And I'm going to use some mango just to add some color to this. I'm not going to go all the way up to the inside, but I'm just going to make it so it's a little bit of like a gradient, a little darker around the edge, and it just adds one more color to your page. And you take this, and really there is there's no need to put glue on every little piece here. That would be very difficult to do. So what I do is just find out where your pieces match. So this one goes right under here. Oops. You see that? And what I do is I flip this over and I just put some glue here and here. And that's enough for it to stay in place. Okay? With your red flower, you actually, there's a hole in the center with your red flower because the hole that punches out of there, you turn over and that is the center of your flower there. So what I would do to hold the red on, I would flip this back over and I would just put a little dot of glue here, 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 you know, just a few dots around the edge. Add your flower. Oops, I messed it up there. Add your flower, and that is enough to hold it. So you'll just want a few dots there. This goes on top. And then your two brown pieces, just match those up on the edge. Okay? And again, you can chalk up the edge of these to add a little more color too. But again, you flip this over, a little dot of glue here, and that's enough to hold that all together. Same for the leaves on each end. And before you glue this all the way down, you'll want to have your pictures on on your photo mats so that you're not covering anything up. So this one I would probably move back this way just a little bit to show more of the pictures. But adjust that so that it works for you. These little pieces that we cut in the beginning, they are just to add a little extra color. So tuck those under the edge, and I just put a little adhesive under the bottom there and have those kind of sticking out wherever. The ends won't show here because you'll have green leaves that go behind here. So there is your fall November kit for Club Q, and we hope you enjoyed it. This paper line, by the way, is called Cherrywood, and it's on our website now. So it has, if you like this paper, you can get the entire paper pack, plus there's quotes and phrases and stuff that go with it. But it's called Cherrywood, and it is up right now. And I hope you enjoyed Club Q this month, and every month. We will see you in December. Thank you.